When you're out sailing, it's not very likely, but on a windy, victory at sea sort of day, there's always a possibility of having somebody go overboard. And if that happens, you have to be prepared. You have to have set procedures that you go through. And the list is fairly long. And you got to remember, it could just be you and one other person on the boat. And either you or that other person goes overboard. Man overboard if the boat is going upwind when the man falls overboard. You spin the boat into the wind, knee-jerk reaction, turning the boat into the wind, but you keep the jib back-winded. And then that spins the bow around, aims the bow right at the man. And then just before you get to the man, you turn the bow into the wind a second time, and then that brings the stern over to the man, and it puts the boat into park. We call that heave to. And in park, the boat should come to a complete stop, or at least close to it. Man overboard.
Man overboard.
Put that on right now. Put that thing on. Now we turn into the wind. We backwind the jib. Spin the boat. Now we're going to aim right straight for the man. Right straight at him, just like we're going to run him down. Right straight at him, straight at him. A second turn into the wind. Backwinded jib. The boat comes to a complete stop.
And there's our man.
If the man goes overboard when the boat's going downwind, the big difference is not backwinding the jib. So still the same knee-jerk reaction, turning the boat into the wind, all the way through the wind, so you're doubling back right directly at the man again, but this time with the jib loose. So with the jib completely loose, no power in it at all, then the boat should again come to a complete stop, or almost by the time the sails are completely empty and there's no more power. Left the sails, hit Susie in the head.
Watch your head, Susie.
Okay, we're sailing downwind on a starboard tack, so we're going to be turning into the wind. Man is teetering, man overboard. Put that on right now, put that on. Once again, we head into the wind. But this time we do not backwind the jib. We let it go completely loose. Main completely loose. Turn the stern of the boat into the man. Left the sails. Excellent. Helm is a term that we use to describe everything that has to do with steering a boat. On this boat, we've got a wheel. We turn the steering wheel to the right, we go right, to the left, we go left. What's actually happening, however, the wheel is turning a rudder, which is a fin sticking down underneath where I'm standing right here. And as I turn the wheel, the rudder turns, deflecting the back of the boat. So that makes driving a boat quite different from driving a car. When you're driving a car, you're steering with the front of the car. With a boat, you're steering with the back of the boat. So if I want to turn the boat to the left, what's actually happening is the back of the boat is going to the right, and the boat is pivoting right around the middle. Now this boat has a wheel. You turn right to go right, left to go left. Smaller boats, and even some big boats, instead of a wheel, would have what's called a tiller. A tiller is a stick, and the stick fits on what we call the rudder post, comes directly up from the rudder. And with a tiller, if you push the stick to the left, the boat turns right. And if you push the stick to the right, the boat turns left. So it's just the opposite. Right to go left, left to go right. That might seem confusing, but it's not that difficult to learn how to steer with a tiller once you get used to it, get over the first few times steering the wrong direction. One of the problems that people have the most is if they learned originally to drive with a tiller, say when they were young, and then they get on a boat with a wheel later on in life, and initially what they learned as a kid holds over, and they do everything backwards at first. But if you've never driven a boat before, it's not that bad. Just right to go left, left to go right with a tiller, or turn it the direction you want to turn with a wheel. Okay, one thing that makes driving a boat very, very different from driving a car is that driving a boat, you want to cut corners. If you were trying to park a car, imagine a very, very large car. Say you're driving a Cadillac in an area as confined as this, you'd want to swing it wide. On driving a boat, you don't want to swing it wide. If you try to swing it wide coming into your slip, you may miss your slip. In fact, you may end up trying to park your boat in the slip next to yours, and that slip may already have a boat in it. So what you want to do is cut the corner, start your turn a little sooner than you might think, and then the boat will pivot around the middle, the bow goes in, the stern swings around the back, and you end up lined up right into your slip. This is going to be a downwind exit. Wind is coming from that direction. We're going to be going out in that direction. So as the boat comes out of the slip, the wind will blow the bow of the boat the direction that we want to go, which is handy. That works out great. We'll throw a little bit of extra rudder in there just to show what we would do if we had no wind. This is completely different from what we would do if it was an upwind exit. The wind would be fighting us. So if we backed our boat out of the slip and tried to turn it into the wind, and the wind was blowing the bow away from the wind, we'd end up crossways, and we'd never get our boat turned. At that point, what we'd have to do to save the situation is just back all the way out as if that's the way we planned it in the first place. Downwind exit is easy. You can't blow it because all you have to do is just sit out there and eventually the wind will blow the bow around the direction that you want it to go. Okay, we're going to come straight back out of the slip. So dock crew, make sure the boat is lined up straight in the slip. We're going to come back halfway out before we make our turn. So for the first half of a boat length, we're coming straight as an arrow back. Okay, that looks good. Very good. Okay, you guys can go ahead and climb aboard. Now we're halfway out of the slip. We make our turn. And if we like our speed, and this looks like a pretty good speed, I'm going to go ahead and put it in neutral here. So we're neutral, coasting out of the slip. Now when the bow clears the boat in front, we know we've made it out of the slip. We go into forward, turn the wheel, and apply the power in that order. It goes by FWP. Put it in forward, turn the wheel, and apply power. We call that FOOP. If you fail to FOOP, you flop. Okay, now we're lined on the channel. Give it a little bit extra throttle here just to get moving. And we're not running any races here today, so once the boat gets going the speed that we want, then we can bring the power back down to almost an idle. Boat will keep on going about the same speed even though you get back down to an idle, because we're just coasting. Okay, now if you get into a tight spot, need to make a fairly tight turn in very narrow quarters, as we have right here, what we're going to do is called a pivot turn. We're going to turn the wheel to the right and then put the transmission in reverse and allow the propeller to pull the stern around. Okay, I'll describe what we're doing here. Okay, first, I turn the wheel to the right, so the boat's turning right. I put the transmission in reverse and apply a little bit of power, and the propeller is now turning to the left. And as the propeller turns to the left, it pulls the stern to the left. Pivots us right around within our own boat length, in fact. Okay, now we're realigned, back into forward. Apply a little power to get our steerage back. And we're back in business. The propeller rotation is one of the advantages you have in making a tight turn, because in reverse, whichever direction the propeller is rotating, it'll pull the stern that direction and help you pivot. Okay, now approach to the slip. We're going to make our approach in the left 2/3 of the channel. The 2/3 is kind of important here because it's a fairly narrow channel. If we got too close on the left side of the channel, we could hit boats as we made our turn. So we're staying enough in the middle so that we've got room to make the turn, but still enough to the side so we have clearance on the right. Okay, I'm starting my turn 2 slips before my own, in neutral. I just put the shift into neutral, so we're just coasting again. Dock crew is ready to tie up at the shrouds with the ropes in their hands. Okay, there's reverse, enter the slip. I'm now applying power. Okay, now pull back on the ropes to slow the boat down. Okay, killing the engine. On a diesel engine, you can't kill the engine by turning the key off. You have to do it by some other means. On this boat, we've got a little lever. Pull out on the lever. The alarm goes off. That's a low oil pressure alarm, and we don't have to worry about low oil pressure when the engine's off.